co-chairs and fellow delegates, the delegation from the PRC just wishes to elaborate on some of these points. Please direct your attention to the back end of the resolution. Clause 7 calls upon Security Council to consider imposing punitive measures similar to those mentioned in Clause 4 on countries proving to supply nuclear weapons to rogue states. Delegates, as we've seen just now, the existence of said rogue states has been confirmed. However, the punitive measures that have been mentioned are rather vague on detail. If we look here, a ban on exports of material, technology or machinery that could be used in the construction of new nuclear weapons. Delegates, I think it's very obvious that smuggling is one of the easiest of things to do, especially in a country with many borders. North Korea may have slight difficulties with that, as its only land border is with the PRC. But a hypothetical situation, say Switzerland, a country in Europe, by some strange twist of fate, gets hold of nuclear material. Smuggling said nuclear material, for economic advantage or otherwise, would be an extremely easy task. This is again coupled with the freezing of, a ban of exports of lobsters and James Bond films to DPRK, and the freezing of financial assets of North Korean companies dealing in luxury products. So, we are going to ban luxury products, but we're not going to do anything about the uranium. Uranium is not a luxury product. As for Clause 6, this clause strikes the delegate of the PRC's blatant national advertising created by the United States. The delegate of the PRC does not see why joining the Proliferation Security Initiative would hold any advantage whatsoever to the PRC. The only possible advantage mentioned in the clause is that it was created by the United States, which to the delegation of the PRC is not an automatic advantage. These issues must be addressed. Delegates, thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the Delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The Delegates open themselves to any and all points of information. Are there any on the floor? Delegate of United States, United Kingdom, Russian Federation, and France. You have been recognized in that order.
Now, Delegate, with reference to your point that it is easy to smuggle material, technology, and machinery that could be used to construction new nuclear weapons, the United States feels that it's equally easy to bypass a firewall put by the government of by the Chinese government, put in place by the Chinese government. Does the simple fact that it is easily bypassed, does that mean that the government of China should lift the firewall in the same way that the United States should lift the sanctions on North Korea simply because they can be easily bypassed?
The government of PRC believes two things. First is that if a measure is not effective, then why are we still using it? Second, the PRC was calling for detail, not for the calling off of these measures. Detail, not the calling off. Thank you.
The delegate of China said it's easy to smuggle in weapons, therefore would banning them also mean cutting off smuggled in weaponry, which is really hard to...
There's an issue here, delegate. If banning is a word takes no action. You can ban weapons all you like, but if there is nothing to physically stop the weapons, yes, I'm aware of the words. If there is nothing to physically stop these weapons, if there is no detail presented in such a clause, then what is the use of the clause? Banning is simply a word. Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate of China, does the delegate not wholeheartedly agree that such sanctions would only bring more complications to the already complicated process of handling North Korea?
Considering that there are already sanctions on the DPRK, inflicted, for want of a better word, inflicted by various other countries, then to that degree, yes, the delegate of China agrees. Thank you.
The delegate of China mentioned just now, in fact, and previous to that, that punitive measures such as sanctions on DPRK do not work. So this delegate is left confused, wondering what other measures could we, the international community, possibly take to prevent rogue states from continuing on in their nuclear ambitions.
The opinion of the PRC on this matter would be regarded as rather extreme by most nations, perhaps. However, the delegation of the PRC believes that such extreme measures when dealing with nuclear weapons is quite necessary. There is always the utility of force. That is an option. Yes, it is a barbaric option. Yes, it is an uncivilized option. It is an option that would result in death of civilians, of armed forces, yes. But we are dealing with weapons that, with the push of a button, can take away 200,000 lives in a Japanese city, and that was a prototype of the first. Therefore, the delegate of the PRC does not wish to revert to that, but if it is necessary, then the utility of force is always an option. Thank you.
Just to follow up.
Granted.
So is the delegate of China then insinuating that if the delegate of, if DPRK continues on in its nuclear ambition, China being a long-time ally of DPRK will authorize an invasion to stop their nuclear ambitions?
The PRC supplies the DPRK with certain humanitarian materials. The PRC also now knows, through some shock, some surprise, that the official policy of the DPRK has changed. They now wish to take part in a treaty with the United States, which goes against its ideological motives. Obviously, this is rather irregular, and the delegation of the PRC is now reconsidering its policy regarding the DPRK. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any further points of information on the floor for the Delegate of China? Seeing as there are none, would the Delegate of China please yield the floor? That is in order. Delegate of the United Kingdom, you have been recognized.